Okay. Hi, everyone. Let's just start by having you introduce yourselves and your project.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mi-Chen Fu, Director of Intersection with
Valerie Neck.
Hi, I'm Kay Hanahan.
Woo!
I'm Kay Hanahan, and I made The Day Is Not Lost.
Hi, I'm Morgan Adamson, and I made Nothing in Particular unboxing video.
Okay, it's so nice to have all of you here. I'm just going to ask a question or two, and then we'll turn it over for thoughts and questions from the audience. Well, yeah, when I was titling this, I don't know, obscure cultural reference, I guess, to the 1976 work by Joan Jonas, I Want to Live in the Country and Other Romances, if anyone remembers that one, where she kind of plays with like video as an infinite mirror, and is also like kind of a whiplash between like rural Nova Scotia and what it means to dream about a place, or romanticizing the rural, romanticizing, New York City, her other home. And like, so yeah, I guess, I don't know. I'm wondering about if there was sort of like any romancing for you all as you were looking at these places or thinking about like how to capture them with these sensory experiences, or techniques like stop motion. Yeah, so if you want to just go down.
I think it's a really interesting question. Thank you. I think there was in Intersection just the experience of not being from that place and coming to it with outsider eyes somewhat. It was easy to romanticize certain parts of it, I think, before we started learning about the deeper layers. And so I guess my hope with the film is that the romanticization, that's the word, that there's room for that, along with highlighting all these other layers as well.
De-romanticizing or demystifying, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the city symphony genre, it's quite popular for New York City. So for sure, there was a bit of a tribute to that. But we also wanted it to feel very true to that place. So I don't know if anyone has spent time in Brooklyn and Queens, in the area where there's a lot of like different immigrants and different cultures. So we wanted to do our own version of a city symphony. But as you can see also, like, because we were not from the area, our number one goal was to just spend a lot of time there. And then the film evolved from there. And when we got to talk to like local people and learn their stories, and that's how we actually met the MTA driver and the local businesses that shared their stories. So that's part of the de-romanticizing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so great question. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in the Bulgarian village from 2009 to 2011. And when I left, I was just devastated. It was really hard to reassimilate back into American culture. And of course, I was definitely romanticizing my life in the village. I definitely forgot about being cold all the time or chopping my own wood, and just really missed kind of that sensory experience and the daily rhythms of life in the village. And so that's why I want to go back and capture that experience about how it felt to be there in that time. But then, of course, I'm reminded by the two men in the mosque that time is impermanent and change is constant. And so no matter how much I tried to capture that experience, it's never possible.
Yeah, that's an interesting question because it's a film about the place I live. So I don't have any romantic feelings towards it. It's been through what we've been through a lot in the past, in the past couple of years, whatever. But I think for me, like it was the romance comes through in like the romance maybe of the commodity or the mystification of the commodity. And I think to your question about stop motion, I was thinking about when I went to make the film. I don't even know what I was thinking because it was it's like I was in a cardboard manic phase or something. My partner, I like collected so much cardboard in our attic. My partner was like, "Are you okay?" But I think that I was thinking about the way that early avant-garde stop motion artists would kind of use it to animate these inanimate objects, and the way that kind of represented the way the commodity like had commodities had like taken on a life of their own in modern life and like become these objects that kind of seem to have a force of their own outside of human activity. So I think I was kind of thinking about the romance of the commodity itself, maybe.
And maybe also, I think you had written something about using stop motion as a way to recreate memories, or like
Totally.
maybe the memory part is the.
Oh, the memory part. Yeah. Yeah. So, it was also reflecting back on this very strange time in my life where I just had a child and the pandemic happened immediately. And then George Floyd happened immediately after that. And so it was like, and we were stuck in our house and we like barely went outside except for these, little excursions to, protests and watch things see things that had our city that had been burnt down. And so, yeah, so like if the stop motion felt like a way to, like you're saying, recreate those memories, but at a distance, kind of in the way that Dana, was that how you pronounce her name, was talking about, like, like it creates a distance for you to reflect on that, and making it through the cardboard, I think, was a way to like give myself a limitation, in terms of like the representation itself.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, any comments or questions out there? Josh, looks like. Is there a mic for? Yeah.
I can just talk loudly.
Okay.
First of all, I just found this program to be really stunning in just terms of how it was constructed. So I just want to say that this is a really good program that I found it just to be a really amazing program. And I thought a lot about kind of access for all as filmmakers to your subjects or your subject matter, but I think it kind of became more about intimacy for me, and just was wondering if you could talk about how intimacy played a role for you both as a filmmaker while filming, but also in the subject matter of the film.
Anyone want to start?
I will, just speaking to the layers of voices. I did 17, well, we did 17 street interviews. And so just going up to New Yorkers on the street and saying, where are you going? Where are you coming from? Initially doesn't seem like an intimate thing, but it actually was, because what came out within a minute or two of people just sharing what was going on with their lives was really quite striking to me. So I think that the intimacy of being just open and honest and willing to hear no's, willing to have people walk straight by you, but also willing to hear people. I think one of the first women we asked that, her husband of 60 years had died. And that was the first thing she shared when we asked where she was coming from. So sorry, I'm so nervous. My whole face is twitching. Anyway, that's what I want to say about intimacy and interaction with people. We also, William, the man in the very beginning of the film, and Gallo, the poet, the MTA driver, and the individuals who own the El Salvadorian restaurant. There was a lot of intimacy that we experienced. And I think being a human on the planet and just being open and receptive goes a long way.
I'll just add one quick thing about access. So we made this film over 6 months, and we just tried to be there like every day. So at some point, people just started recognizing us, and we actually met the driver while taking a coffee break because it was really cold outside, and he noticed all our equipment, and yeah, we just got it chatting, and so everyone we met actually, like the poet, came up to us, and so just becoming a familiar face, being part of the landscape helped.
Yeah, so like I said, I was a Peace Corps volunteer in this village. I was an English teacher in the village school. And so, yeah, I really just got to know the village and the people throughout these 2 years. And I was the first Peace Corps volunteer there. So they really took me in like family, like, always knocks on my door with jarred food or to come over and watch soap operas. And Bulgarian culture is just so hospitable. Like, even if you stay at someone's house for like 4 hours and you say you're going to leave, they're like, why are you leaving? I'm like, I've been here 4 hours. I'm going home. So, yeah, I just spent a lot of time. And Peace Corps works you have 3 months of language training in a different village, and then you go to your permanent site for 2 years. And so it's that long because that first year, you're really not supposed to do anything. You're really just supposed to learn the culture and learn the language. And so people kind of get used to you just sitting there and not being able to really converse or do anything. And so I think that really works for the observational film because they're really just used to me being there and not saying anything. And so I came back then 4 years after my Peace Corps service to shoot this film. And then I didn't get to the edit until 10 years later. So not that I've been working on the edit for 10 years, I've been working on other things and had a few babies and just got around to it. So yeah, and so then we went back to the village in May to screen the film for everyone, and seeing the village, how much it's changed in 10 years really impacted everyone. They were very emotional. Like, so many of the people are gone now, have passed away. Like, the men in the mosque are no longer there. The woman who's got the bad boyfriend and is pregnant is now married to the guy with 2 kids. So there's no more animals. They've made a law now where they don't have animals. They've wanted to modernize, and they got rid of all the animals. The disco is closed. So seeing this moment in time was really special for all of us.
Yeah, intimacy. I think this was just a very intimate film for me. I was about being stuck at home. I made it in my house. Like, it was all, I've never made work about myself. And so that was really intimate and a strange experience. Yeah. So I don't really know what to say about intimacy, but yeah, it was it's very, very intimate, domestic, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll bring you a mic if you hang on one sec.
Thank you all so much for your wonderful films. I have a question for you. You just mentioned that you edited the footage 10 years later. I'm so curious, like, what it was like to go back to that footage and like what, I don't know, I'm sure like when you shot it, you maybe thought you were making something different. So can you talk a bit about like that process and how 10 years impacted like what this final product was?
Yeah. So I shot the film over 2.5 weeks in the village, and I knew that I wanted the structure to be a day in the village, to start with the call to prayer. And then, originally I wanted there to be 5 calls to prayer, because usually in one day there's 5 calls to prayer, but in a short film, you cannot include 5 calls to prayer, it'd just be all calls to prayer. So yeah, the structure didn't really change within those 10 years at all, but I think the distance, like I said, it was really hard to leave, and we actually moved to Denver after, and then we moved back to Bulgaria because we missed it so much. And I met my husband in the Peace Corps. That's why I'm saying we. And so we went back, and yeah, so I think maybe having that distance, you know, it was like wonderful to relive this footage, but I think I was like less emotional, less yearning to be in that village still, and just kind of in a happier place in my own life. So yeah, and then it was just really amazing to, you know, see and to just through that footage to kind of, you know, remember how it used to be. My life has changed so much, but to kind of relive my time in the Peace Corps through the footage has been really special.
What else out there?
Yeah, for Valerie and Medjuan, and just how did you choose this particular intersection, and how much time? Yeah, sorry, it won't apply to unboxing probably, but also, yeah, just curious, like how much time was spent shooting these particular films? Yeah.
So we did this film as part of Union Dog's studio. So it was focused on Ridgewood neighborhood in Queens. And then this intersection is right at the border. And if you've been there, it's a very charged space. A lot of smells, a lot of sounds. You have like food carts, overhead train. It's like a bus depot as well. Yeah, and then there's like a rhythm, you know, people coming out, train passing by every 8 minutes. So there you can just really feel all your senses. I actually felt very stimulated. Part of our scouting, one time I went home and I felt sick. I actually got cold because it was really cold outside, but also it was just so overly stimulating. So right away, I think we knew that we wanted to make a piece about it, but we actually didn't know the form or where it would take us. We just felt like compelled by the place. And so we just went in blind, and I think you see a lot of the sensory stuff because we wanted to recreate the experience for you, how it feels to be there. And then all the other layers we learned while being there. But yeah, we took about 6 months.
I'll say for me, one of the most, the thing that drew me in initially is that intro graphic, because the intersection has 21 vehicular movements. And so just seeing the image of all the different directions things could go in was really fascinating to me. And so that felt like a starting point, as well as just the sensory side of things.
Oh, one last thing I want to add, the mural that you see, the sort of the remembrance. So actually I have a lot of friends who live in the area and that's their train stop, and like no one knows that happened. So and I think that's when we realize also there's just like so much that's being hidden. And so there's like all these sort of like shadow work that we're doing, both visually but also the layers that we're unpacking. So yeah, that was also really important for us to try to bring the story forward.
I think your form, like the sensory immersion, is a really nice reflection too of the bus drivers talking about, you know, living just below panic at all times. Such a nice way to put that, and like even just hearing those words, like really, like put me in that place, which I think the form that the project takes really like primes you for that, to like make that connection, which was so nice. Anything else out there? Well, we've already talked about time. I mean, I think like my other sort of question that I was going to throw to you all, and maybe if you feel like answering, if not, don't worry, is just the, I guess, again, relating back to the concept of like the program, not so much the title, but, thinking about different experiences of time and the, from how that changes within a day, or, from place to place, or from eon to eon. But then I guess also maybe within your film, right? Like, and Kay, you've already talked about how time really passed, 10 years. So yeah, so not just in the production, like in how much time it takes you to make something, but also I guess how you're thinking about representing time, if anyone wants to think about that.
Go ahead. I don't have a great answer to that. I mean, I think I was trying to represent like this feeling of like the endless circulation of things and quantities, and through the cardboard, and then like the feeling of rupture when like when something, a space is like opened up in time, which I think was the experience, not personal to me, but like just in the city of George Floyd's murder. And like, it was just this disruption of the status quo in a way that was like nothing, anybody had in the city had experienced. And it was like that rupture like opened up so many amazing things, that it was hard to keep them open, and that feeling of like foreclosure. So like, yeah, this like endless kind of like circulating time versus like some other kind of possibility was the way I was thinking about it, of like collectivity, or just something slightly outside of, the quotidian everyday capitalism, I guess. I mean, yeah.
So in my film, yeah, the structure is one 24-hour day. And then, in one 24-hour day, usually I have 5 calls to prayer. But like I said, I couldn't really fit in the 5 calls to prayer. But yeah, there was just kind of some like happy moments, happy accidents where I like put the mosque scene together. And he's talking about his pocket watch and it being noon, or when the sun comes in the valley. Before they had pocket watches, how they could tell time. And he tells that story about when the sun comes into the valley, it's noon. And in the point of that film, when then I cut to the valley, it was the exact midpoint of the film. And so there's kind of, I was like, yes, this is the right cut. It felt right.
Ours is also kind of over 24 hours, but I think the structure for us was most important because there's a lot of like death in it. Even the poem, right? He repeats like died, died, died. And so we really wanted to end it with like new life. So you kind of see it kind of going slow and quiet, and then it coming back, just to show you that the intersection continues, and for better or worse, maybe more accidents as well. Yeah. Oh, Eric.
Yeah, I think the whole program, but also every piece represented here, dealt with maybe movement, transit, and travel. And it sort of made me think of how, infrastructural conditioning of movement, infrastructural conditioning of transit and travel, like how movement operates in a village versus at an intersection in New York City. But both are infrastructural fundamentally, both condition the possibility for movement and transition between spaces. And then, of course, the boxes. And then the boxes made me think of movements in a camera and how that conditions the capacity for film to travel through it potentially. And then I think that the same conditioning happens even in a digital camera. You're animating these boxes within boxes, which is the frame itself, there's a kind of reflexivity there and a conversation happening between them. So I don't really have a good question, but movement, transit, travel, and maybe how the ability to document that or produce work about that is itself also conditioned by the way that we're able to make moving images, but also the way that that is an extension of the infrastructural infrastructural condition of each place that you are addressing. I don't think that was a question, but whether or not that resonates, or just a response, or none.
Yes.
I mean, I can say something about that. I think, from obviously, I think it was pretty clear in the film, but I was thinking a lot about, the hidden labor of the way that things just show up in our lives, and the way that time and space is collapsed through, logistics, basically, like the way that things are so seamlessly delivered to our doors now and our desires are fulfilled almost instantaneously, and how how I don't even understand that at all, and so especially like the images of the barcodes and all these little things that are clicked and scanned or whatever, was just like a way to try to like think about some kind of history of these objects and the way that they've circulated and the way that they arrive in the domestic space, but they have these like very intense lives before they arrive, that are touched, they're touched by many different hands, but that all that labor is completely invisible.
I can say a little piece about that for mine. There's one road that goes through the village, and I really wanted you to feel how busy that road is with animals and traffic and, always kind of the traffic jam. It starts with the traffic jam with the cows and then kind of ends with the traffic jam with the goats, and just kind of like the loudness of the cars going by. And I kind of let that kind of guide me in a lot of my cutting as well, like the older woman who's making the bread, and she's right on that main road, and you can kind of see the shadow of the car come over the wall. And so then I cut out to that car racing by. So I kind of let a lot of that transportation and the traffic on the road dictate the structure of the film a little bit.
I do wonder how that traffic feels without the animals involved anymore.
It's not as busy for sure. Actually, there's scooters now. All the kids have these electric scooters. And they're just racing through.
Okay. Well, with that, I think we'll call it a night. Thank you all so much. We start tomorrow. Tomorrow's the last day of the festival. We have a full day packed, starting at 10 a.m. So hopefully we'll see you there.